requirements still stay as strong?
Yeah, so the decision of the zoning hearing board and whatever decision that the board makes runs with the land. It's not personalized to the owner, it focuses on the property. So as long as this use is functioning, it will be subject to whatever testimony we have provided, whatever conditions that the board imposes on this.
Okay, and I guess this is a question for you. Will EPA, will they do like spot checks? Like once this, I'm sure it has to be certified or so, but 6 months down the road or 1 year down the road, will somebody come in and see if the filters are being replaced or?
Well, as part of our approval, we're gonna have to agree to operations and maintenance management. So we'll have companies doing filter changes, chemical, removals, etc. And the DEP, which would be the extension of the EPA at the state level, they reserve the right to come in, to my knowledge, at any time and make an inspection. So I can tell you from working there for 12 years that off and on for 12 years, those people take extreme care with respect to the facility, the area that is around it. He treats that facility just like he treats his
Well,
own.
like I say, I know when he took that over, the work he did the barn and stuff, upkeep, he's top notch, really, but sometimes you just gotta ask these crazy questions.
From my experience over a dozen years, you could expect the same level of care.
Just
Yes.
when something happens to him, you don't know where it goes from there.
Any other questions from members of the audience? Okay, seeing no hands, do you want to call your next witness?
Yes, let's call Mark Myers.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Spell your first and last name.
Mark, M-A-R-K, Myers, M-Y-E-R-S.
And Mark, you are an architect, is that correct?
That's correct.
And how many years have you been in the field?
25.
What is your educational background?
Master's degree from University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign.
And are you licensed in any jurisdiction?
Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, Colorado, Michigan. I'm sure there's a couple others in there.
And are you familiar with the property that is subject to this application?
Yes.
We've attached as exhibit A3 your resume. Is this a true and correct summary of your education and work experience?
Yes.
I move to qualify Mr. Myers as an expert architect.
I don't have any questions for him. I think his CV here speaks for itself, so we'll recognize him as an expert with regard to this type of architecture work.
Thank you. Mr. Myers, are you familiar with the proposed use of this property?
Yes.
And I know you have a video, 2-minute video or so showing what the nature of this use. I've labeled that as Exhibit A4 in Brooklyn, and I'll ask you to show that to the board.
This is the 3-dog promotional.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Just off the record, did the board see this before? I know I saw it, and I can't remember if that was planning commission? Is that where it was?
I haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
All right, so then,
We
it's
have
not.
different audiences,
Boards,
so we
I don't
run
know.
this to the zoning board, to the planning commission, I don't think.
I just didn't know if they even see it, but maybe we'll just show it to them first. I remember it only lasts 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then display
Yeah,
it.
I think
We can
most
try.
members of the audience probably have seen it, but we can show
You
it.
guys want to see it again? Don't need to see it?
Okay.
Any- Okay, then we'll show it to them.
There's a cord in the back that's not plugged in anywhere.
No, here it goes. Okay.
All right. So rather than try to explain what 3-dog garage does, the owner put together this little video. It's only 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes long. Some of you may have seen this before, but it kind of sums it up better than I can explain.
Welcome to Three Dog Garage, a one-of-a-kind historic vehicle museum located in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Its name is a tribute to three
Actually,
That's all.
that belong to the museum's founders, Beth and Ross Myers. The museum occupies a restored 32,000 square foot early 20th century brick manufacturing building. One look inside will tell the visitor that Three Dog Garage is a Ford-friendly environment. As early as the 1950s, when Ross was a young boy, he watched as his father restored a 1919 Ford Model T touring car in the garage at their home. This is when Ross's love of old cars and his desire to preserve them began. There are several distinct collections or groups of cars at Three Dog Garage. One of the primary collections is historic American hot rods, mostly from the post-World War II era. Young men, most fresh out of the service, had a yearning to make their cars, usually old Fords because they were cheap, go faster and look better, and hot rods were born. The Three Dog Garage collection of these cars is acknowledged as the most comprehensive assemblage of its kind, and includes the famous 1922 Ford Kooky car from the early 60s television series 77 Sunset Strip. The second major collection at Three Dog Garage is the historic Ford and Ford-powered road racing cars, with national championship winning examples from 1965 Shelby Mustangs and Cobras through the golden age of the Trans Am series from 1966 to 1970. And up to the ultra-fast generation of purpose-built tube chassis IMSA and SCCA racers from the 1980s and 90s. Many of these historically significant race cars were acquired by Three Dog Garage when they were just old, worn-out, hard-driven, and unceremoniously retired artifacts of days gone by. To see them displayed today, fully restored to their original race-ready condition, is a testament to Team Three Dog, an in-house group of exceptionally skilled craftspeople whose goals are historical accuracy and excellence in technical execution. Their most recently finished project is the famous one-of-one Charlie Kemp 1976 Mustang Cobra II, known as the only race car to link Ford's exit from road racing in 1970 to its re-entry in the early 80s. Other cars in the collections include racing prototypes, specials, and classics, all with significant histories, and all are examples of the dedication of its people to make Three Dog Garage the best museum of its kind anywhere.
So in conjunction with this type of use, have you prepared plans relating to the proposed use?
Yes.
And what concepts were used in preparing the architectural scheme for these buildings?
First off, Ross Myers did not want just one big 40,000 square foot building. He said, I want to do this in a collection of buildings. I want it to look like an old farm. I want to break the uses up into different buildings and have the buildings look like they could have been here the whole time. And it's not only the buildings, but it's the spaces between the buildings and the landscape between the buildings and the walkways and the driveways. Really, we're creating a place here, not just a building to fix up old cars. That's really what he wanted me to do.
Okay. Do you have the animation?
I do,
Okay,
yeah.
so why don't we show the animation?
We have 2D plans of this thing, but I've also done an animation, a 3D animation. And it's a little bit easier to kind of grasp when you see it in that form. So I'll just show it, and it's not very long, and I can pause it and back it up if you want. So, hold on a minute, it's not the right file. All right, so this, you've seen this before?
Yes, I have.
All right. Let me back up here a minute. So we start off looking at it in plan view to orient everybody. This is Perkiomenville Road. This is Big Road along here. This area right here, that's the existing farmhouse that's been fixed up. There's an existing barn here, and there's a small garage, so that exists on the site. And our proposal is to make use of this existing farm access lane that was here on the site as our main entrance to the site. So I'll start the animation and kind of, so the animation starts down at Big Road. This would be the entrance. And as you come into the site, the first building will be the transport building where the 18-wheeler will be stored in the trailers. Moving to the main entrance gate. As you enter the entrance gate and make your way around to the right, you'll see that's the Ritchie building. It's a replica of an old building from Ross's past. We'll have a storage facility here to store cars that are currently under construction and being worked on in those shed-type buildings. To your right, straight ahead would be the paint shop. That's where the body shop with the paint area in it. This will be a storage building, a 5,000 square foot storage building for parts and things that go along with these cars. This building straight ahead here is the fabrication shop. It's been made to look like an old barn with additions that have been added over the years. Moving past the fab shop, that would be the side of the transport building. Again, everything's kept inside. The gas station's a replica of a 1930s Ford gas station. It actually had gas stations that Ford owned. And it will not have any operable pumps. It's just a garden folly and for use like that. Just looking back over the site at the fabrication shop, gas station. This shot's looking out the gate at the existing barn and small garage that are there now. These views now are what it looks like on from Big Road. The site doesn't have any landscaping shown, or this doesn't have any landscaping because it would block all the images of the buildings beyond. But at the corner of Big Road and Perkiomenville Road, that's kind of the view that you can see. As you can see, the scale of the buildings is kept low. That would be from the north corner there. And then this is Perkiomenville Road, that's looking at it kind of towards the south. And back to the beginning. Does anybody have anything, you back up, or any questions on that?
I'm okay, I don't know if the audience or.
Mark, why don't we finish your testimony, then we can open it up, okay? So, we have in the booklet as exhibit A6, a series of photographs of, or not photographs, illustrations of renderings, I should say, of the various buildings. So,
They're just still images taken from that animation, is what they are.
all right. So with respect to each individual aspect of this, do you have anything to add in terms of the architectural features for these various buildings?
Just that these buildings are purposely designed to look like they belong in this area. They're designed to look like barn structures that have been added on to over the years. The roof lines, the scale, the materials have all been chosen to blend nicely and really look like they've been here.
Just to pick up on the question that came up earlier, are you aware of whether there are any underground storage tanks proposed for this property?
As mentioned, there might be a propane tank for heating of these facilities, and we haven't decided yet on the sprinkler system. There may be an underground water tank for the sprinkler system, fire protection.
All right, nothing further.
The board have any questions for this witness?
So once again, you're back off of Perkiomenville Road for public safety entrance. It's not on your plan here, but I see it on your plan here.
These plans have been done for quite some time, and that was, at the last meeting was asked that we would do that, and it's
It's
included.
shown on the engineering plans that you'll see in a few moments.
Okay. So you do have an entrance there,
Yeah,
2 entrances, one from the main entrance and one from Perkiomen. And the width, because I'm not an architect, what's the width in here? I understand you can get an 18-wheeler, it sounds like here, a tractor
Yeah,
trailer in here, but what
that'll be
about
the
inside
minimum.
here when you come through, if, the fire department comes in there and needs to swing their trucks around?
Joe,
Again, our engineer will go through, these questions are land development questions, they were discussed, and our engineer is prepared to address those.
Okay, forgive me if I'm out of order with that, but I'm just asking.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
with that.
No problem.
Okay.
Any members of the audience have questions for Mr. Myers?
Hi.
Frank?
I believe at the last meeting, this was gonna be done like in stages, right? It wasn't gonna be like, there'll be like one part and then maybe 6 months to a year, maybe another building will go up, or is this now intended to like go from A to Z?
it's my understanding that we're gonna work on the site, and we're gonna get all the stormwater facilities put in place, and landscaping and things like that. The plan is to build this transport building first, to put the transporter and all that away. And after we have all this site done, there'll be areas all prepared for these buildings. I can't really answer exactly what building will be next and how long.
Right,
That is- We do know that this is the building that's to start first, and of course, the site and getting the landscaping all done.
So it's like a 3-year deal, start to end. I'm just guessing, or I'm not holding it, but
I think it's gonna be, it's gonna be 3 years to get the site all done in this building. But I think the nice thing about the way this site is, if we do all this landscaping and get our stormwater in, a lot of this work happens at the interior of the site, and it shouldn't be a bother, I don't think. Especially because these roads will be paved, and the way the owner is, we are not gonna be tracking mud all over the roads and everything, so, I
So tell me if I'm asking the proper person. You were considering underground water storage for a sprinkled building if there's a fire.
that's correct.
How much thought have you given?
We haven't got into it much, but I mean, these buildings are gonna be sprinklered, so we're gonna have to supply water somehow.
Yeah, well, there's no piped water up in this
There's
area.
no
so-
pipe water, so there will be a tank of some sort. I would prefer it underground, I don't really wanna see a vertical tank,
Sure.
and there will be a pump.
You know, capacity, did you plan a capacity for buildings or not?
I think it's gonna be between 20 and 30,000 gallon tank.
Okay. And would the fire department be able to, would you make it accessible, some type of hydrant access there, that if they have to draft out of that for neighboring residents in
Those
this area?
buildings will have to have a standpipe, you know, that the fire department plugs into. For a neighbor,
I'm talking about if you have a storage tank down in there, right, to where the fire company, if you pressurize that, right, because it's not gonna be a pressurized system.
it's not
You would-
pressurized.
Correct. So if they can draft out of that tank for the community in this area, if there's ever a fire in that area, 30,000 gallons will get them 25 minutes of operating time, 20 minutes at minimum. Is that possible? If you can
I've
put
never
that-
personally done that on a project, so I don't know if I could answer your question.
Yeah, I understand, it's just a
Yeah.
question, maybe you can get back. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, let's call my last witness, Joe Rusella.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Spell your last name?
Rusella, Russella, first name Joseph, Josephh.
Joe, you are an engineer, is that correct?
I am a senior project manager, and I'm also the director of operations at Howe Engineering.
And how many years have you been in the field?
Almost 30 years. 24 years with Howe Engineering, first employee.
And what is your educational background?
I have a degree in architecture and a degree in engineering.
And give some examples of representative projects that you've worked on.
Numerous projects in the tri-state area, car dealerships, shopping centers, warehouses, similar to this type of operation.
Have you previously qualified as an expert witness before a municipal body or court of law?
I have in numerous
All right.
municipalities.
Thanks. All right. So I move to qualify Mr. Russell as an expert in land development planning.
Land development, are you a PE?
I'm not.
Licensed PA? No, okay. So land development, plan,
And Joey-
agree.
Okay, thank you. Joe, you familiar with property that is subject to this hearing?
I am.
And referring to Exhibit A8 in the booklet, which is the land development plan, can you just do an overview for the board from a land development perspective in terms of what's required for this property?
So this is a 9-acre site. It's situated on the north corner of Perkiomenville Road, which is on the east, and Big Road, which is on the south and west. It's a relatively flat site, gently sloping from west to east. There is pretty, in its current condition, it's just a field with the existing dwelling, may have been farmed at one time. And then along the perimeter, there is some existing landscaping on the northwest corner. And there is a drainage swale and underground pipe on Perkiomen Road.
Mr. Russell, sorry to interrupt you. I guess where you're standing means they can't see, so is that helpful?
Trying to
All right.
position myself right. Okay.
Probably, you guys have the same thing up there,
Yeah,
so maybe you can just tilt that this way a
So
little
can you,
bit.
yeah, if you could
Tilt
tilt
that
that a little more
for the
towards,
audience,
because they're looking really sideways.
Okay. Is that a little bit better? Is that good for everyone?
Thank you.
Continuing along, we're in the CB district. There's residential district on the north of us. Along Big Road is all similar commercial business zoning, CB zoning district. So with the proposed plan that coincides with the animation that was presented by Mark Myers is the entry driveway off of Big Road, which we received a variance for. It's the supposed to take access off the road with less classification, but since Perkiomenville is predominantly residential uses, the better road to continue to utilize is Big Road. That's where our main entrance is. As we come into the site, again gently sloping, the site will be aligned with landscaping. Have access, it's a 25-foot aisle to access the buildings. Depicted on the eastern side will be a minimum use access for emergency services. That is 12 feet wide. We may, as we're developing the plans, need